Welcome back to part three of the Q&A here on Hey Miss Parker. And my questionnaire, my husband, my interviewer, Brandon is back. And he has a few more questions. And I got a feeling it's going to get a little deep.
Yeah, this is the deep episode. Um, okay, so you you meet a man
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and your life changes for essentially for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
You did end up having a child
Mm-hmm.
by this man, so
Mm-hmm.
that all children are blessings.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the other stuff that came with it that led to some DV issues and homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to get into those two subjects of um, how you were kind of dragged down this road of homelessness and being in a very abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm. So to protect the innocent, I won't go too deep.
Yes.
Because there's some things I just don't need people to be triggered by.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, yeah, at this point in my life, I was working a very good job. I was actually working for the DoD, and I was probably making more money than I thought I was going to ever make in my life. And I was able to support me and my children. And at this point, I had two. Um, and I was happy. I lost a little bit of weight. I was happy.
Mm.
I was making money. I could pay my bills. And I met someone, and um, you know, I did not know what I thought I knew about that person. And we were together for about a year and a half before things started to flip, and things started to flip because there were situations that were not known about. Um, so I had to because I was already a person who was very gullible. A lot of things that probably should have gotten taught to me or talked about to me, I did not know. I learned a lot of stuff from my friends, which wasn't smart because they didn't know stuff either. So I didn't know anything, and I was young. I was young. I was 23 when I met him. And he was older. He was older. I think he took advantage of a lot of that naive,
Naivete.
naive. Thank you, naivete. He took advantage of a lot of that. And um, the things I didn't know, I just didn't know. And yeah, he he convinced me of a lot of stuff. Um, my kids, it got to the point I was living in a home, and it was one of the big hurricanes. Like I said, I grew up on the coast of North Carolina. That came through, and I went and stayed at my mother's because the home I was staying in was basically a mobile home. It was a double wide mobile home. And so I went to stay with my grandmother's, and the water had gotten into underneath the house. And mold started to grow, but I didn't realize it was mold growing in the house. Um, and the kids got sick. They kept getting sick. So I would keep going to stay with my grandmother. They would be well. I would go back home. They would be sick. I would go, So it was a lot of that cycle. And he convinced me because the landlord at the time was basically a slumlord. He would not mitigate the mold. So he convinced me the best thing to do was to move into a hotel. Um, and I moved into the hotel because it sounded like it was a good thing to do. My kids were sick, and I didn't want to keep putting that burden on my grandmother. It wasn't just like it was like an extended stay, so it had like a kitchen, and there was a little bit of separation, but it wasn't a lot. Um, and he had some stuff going on with him that um, did not make sense for a family to be dealing with. And a lot of my money went into feeding my children. A lot of money went to staying in that hotel. And once you get in a cycle of paying as much as I was paying, like I was paying almost $500 a week to stay there. That was a lot, especially for like the early 2000s,
Mhm.
right? Um, and even though I was making good money, I also went from paying $700 a month in rent to paying $500 a week to stay in a hotel. And that money starts drying up fast. And then you have to make sure the kids are fed. Then I was spending more money because the hotel wasn't nowhere near where I was staying. So it took me a little bit longer to get the kids to school, which meant more gas. I had to go a little bit longer to go to my grandma's house, which meant more. So I was spending a lot more money than I was making at that point because before I could handle what I had going on. All the meanwhile, he's staying there and he's not helping me at all. So everything I went into survival mode until I didn't have anything. Then I had to figure out where to go with two kids and a bum. He has nowhere to go. I ended up homeless.